Students, will see the next topic under the third chapter, that is mistake. Okay, what do you mean by mistake? It's nothing but it is a misrepresentation or an error committed while entering into an agreement. A person or party to a contract, at the time of entering into a contract, that person did any mistakes or errors or any wrong things, means that is the mistakes. Okay, effect. Wow, next is what is the effect of mistake? If the consent of the parties to an agreement is obtained under a mistake, there is no real and free consent. Hence, such as the agreement cannot become a valid contract if it will be void. If there is a mistakes at the time of entering into the contract, means if there is a mistake, means there is no free consent. Okay, it means that it is no free consent, so it cannot become a valid contract, it became the void. Okay, next we will see the kinds of mistake. What are the kinds of the mistakes? First one, mistakes of two kinds, that is the mistake of law and mistake of fact. Under the mistake of law, again there are three types, that is mistake of general law of the country, mistake of foreign law, and mistake of private rights. First one will say mistake of general law of the country. Ignorance of law, there is no excuse, right? If the person ignores the law, means there is no excuse. Okay, it is one of the contract if it is if. Okay, if one of the contracting parties makes a mistake of law innocently or otherwise through the inducement of the other party, the contract is voidable. It is avoided at the option of the aggrieved party. Okay, because of the law, the person who entered the contract, he has should follow the all the rules and regulations of the country, right? Mistakes of general law, he is going to against the general law of the country, against the law of the country, means that the particular contract becomes the void. It can avoided by the aggrieved party. Okay, it can avoided by the another contracting party. Okay, mistakes of foreign law, ignorance of foreign law is excused. An individual is not expected to know foreign law. Agreement based on the mistake of foreign law becomes void only when there is a bilateral mistake, when the both the parties under mistake. Okay, ignorance of the mistake of the general law of the country is a voidable, but mistakes of the foreign law is excuse. There is excuse for the mistake of the foreign law, because it's not the compulsory to know the each and every person about the foreign country's law, right? Agreement based on the mistake of foreign law becomes void. It becomes otherwise it's a not a void. It becomes void only when there is a bilateral mistake. Both the parties, if there is a both the mistakes in the from the both the parties, means it becomes the void. Otherwise it is a valid if there is a mistake of foreign law. Next one, mistake of private rights. Mistake of private rights of a party relating to property is treated as a mistake of fact, and so an agreement based on the mistake of private rights is considered void. An agreement based on the mistake of private rights becomes void only when there is a bilateral mistake. Under this also, the mistake of private rights becomes void only when there is a mistakes from the both the parties. Okay, mistakes of the private rights, it's nothing but mistakes of rights of a party relating to property is treated as mistake of fact. For example, say P took a lease of fishery from C. P took a lease of fishery farm from C. From C is the owner and P took the lease of fishery farm. Both the parties were unaware of the fact that the fishery already belongs to P. Both the parties are unaware of the fact that the fishery farms already belongs to P. P came to know subsequently that he himself was the owner of the fishery. He therefore filed a suit to avoid the contract. The suit was decided in favor of P. Means here the both the parties are under the mistakes. Okay, so private rights means at the time of sale or purchasing of the particular land or any other things. Okay, this is over the mistakes of private rights. Under the mistake of law is over. Now next is the mistake of fact. Under the mistake of fact is of two types. Mistake of facts under the two types, that is a bilateral mistake and unilateral mistake. Under the bilateral mistake, see, when both the parties to an agreement misunderstand each other, there is said to be a bilateral mistake or mutual mistake. Bilateral means the mistakes from the both the parties. When the both the parties to an agreement understood each other, there is said to be a bilateral mistake, okay, or mutual mistake. Effect, agreement becomes void from the beginning. If there is a bilateral mistake means the agreement becomes void from the beginning. Next, unilateral mistake or mistake from one party. Where one of the parties the contract is under a mistake, the mistake is called unilateral mistake. The mistake is only from the one of the contracting party means that is the unilateral mistake, okay. Effect, a contract caused by unilateral mistake is not voidable, that is cannot be avoided by the agreed party, it remains a valid contract. If there is a mistake from only one person means it becomes remain as a valid contract, okay. Next one, there are two one more topic something about the particular mistake. See, when unilateral mistake becomes voidable, okay, some addition to this chapter. When the unilateral mistake becomes voidable, usually I told the unilateral mistake not became the voidable. In some cases the unilateral becomes the voidable, okay. Unilateral ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು voidable ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ವ್ಯಾಲಿಡ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಕೆಲವು ಕೇಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಯುನಿಲೇಟ್ರಲ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಒನ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಅಂತಿದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಅದು voidable ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಎ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ caused by unilateral mistake becomes voidable if the unilateral mistake is caused by fraud or misrepresentation the part of the other party. Misrepresentation on the part of the other party, the contract is voidable at the option of the aggrieved party. A unilateral mistake becomes the voidable only when the mistake is caused by the fraud or misrepresentation. ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ರಾಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ಮಿಸ್ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಆ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂಥದ್ದನ್ನು ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಸ್, ಓಕೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ವೆನ್ unilateral mistake becomes void, it's voidable, the aggrieved party can avoid if there is a fraud and misrepresentation. In some cases the unilateral mistake becomes void. The cases are when there is a unilateral mistake has to the nature and character of a document, okay. Unilateral mistake as per the nature and character of a document, okay. That is when a person signs a document in the mistaken belief that he is signing the document of different character. ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಒಂದು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಮಿಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಇದುವೇ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬೇರೆ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟಿಗೆ ಸೈನ್ ಹಾಕುವಂಥದ್ದು, ರೈಟ್. ಅಂಥ ಕೇಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ಹಾಗೆ ಮಾಡಿದ ಅಂಥ ಕೇಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ದಟ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಅಗ್ರಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಿಕೇಮ್ ದಿ ವಾಯ್ಡ್, ಓಕೆ. ಆನ್ ಒನ್ ಮೋರ್, ವೆನ್ ದರ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್, when there is a mistake has to the identity of the party contracted with, where the identity of the party is important. Sometimes the person is one of the contracting party is not able to identify the party of the contract. For example, say when there is a mistake as to the identify the party contracted with, where the identity of the party is important, the contract becomes void even though the mistake is unilateral. Mistakes is unilateral, that particular person is not possible to identify the contracting person, right. So in that case also that particular contract became the void. For example, ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಎ ಅವನ ಸೈನ್ ಆಗಬೇಕಿತ್ತು, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದರ ಬದಲು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಬಿ ನಾನೇ ಅವನೇ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಸೈನ್ ಹಾಕುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಓಕೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಒನ್, ಓಕೆ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಿಸ್ ಆಗೋದು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪರ್ಸನ್ಸ್ ಮಿಸ್ ಆಗೋದು. ಅಂಥ ಕೇಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ದಟ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಬಿಕೇಮ್ ದಿ ವಾಯ್ಡ್, ಓಕೆ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದಿ mistake, okay. Under the mistake it's very easy. Mistakes meaning, what is the effect and the types of mistakes of law, mistakes of fact. Under the mistakes of law, 3 general law of the country, mistake of foreign law, mistake of private rights. Next, mistake of fact, under that bilateral mistake and unilateral mistake. And when the unilateral mistake becomes the voidable, under the when if there is a fraud or misrepresentation, and when the unilateral mistake becomes the void ಯೂಶುವಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಯುನಿಲೆಟ್ರಲ್ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಸು ಆಯ್ಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ಆಯ್ಡೇಬಲ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ವ್ಯಾಲಿಡೇ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ ಒಬ್ಬನ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ನು only two situations. One is the when the unilateral mistake becomes voidable ಯಾವಾಗ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ there is a fraud and misrepresentation, and when unilateral mistake becomes void ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ when there is a mistake has to the nature and character of the company, there is a miss of the any document. Okay, at the time of signing the document, instead of a particular document that a person is going to sign for the another one, right? Then when there is a mistake of the identity of the party, sometimes it is very difficult to identify the person, right? In that case also the particular unilateral mistake becomes void. Okay, we'll see some other topic of this chapter in the next class. Thank you.